gentlemen, it's a genuine pleasure to be here this morning. What probably hasn't escaped you is the breadth on this panel. We have management, apps, marketing, and security covered, so there's a little bit of everything. So where do you think your business is going? I know that's a broad question, but what are the main challenges?
This cloud thing changes everything. I think you're going to see the biggest transformation in computing since the introduction of the IBM PC. And it's very difficult to predict, but when you have a paradigm shift, you have to consider or reconsider everything in the mix, the way the users interact with the data, where the data is located, who the provisioners are. And so I think it's almost a new world.
How is the lot of the user going to improve in the next 10 years?
Ultimately, I think the evolution is to pay for the cycles of computing available as opposed to just paying, or cycles of computing you're using as opposed to what's available. If you look at the electricity model, which is probably the most widely used analogy at the moment towards cloud computing, you don't pay for the electricity available to your business or to your house. You pay for the electricity you consume. Everything in the cloud is the same as traditional IT, but different. You know, security still exists, but you're not locking down your network. You've got devices proliferating outside your network, and you need to control them. So we're trying to help companies understand how to take their existing processes and still deliver them securely and compliantly and effectively in the cloud.
One of the things maybe that might be an issue is the absence of security standards, the absence of standards. You know, how big an issue is this, and how are we going to solve it? Where are we on that?
It's a big enough issue today for large corporates, but when you bring the cloud in, you're then talking about, you know, your security no longer sits within your own infrastructure. It starts to come out to suppliers like ourselves, where we start to offer identity management as a service, and that's why standards then become important, because you're into a multi-vendor environment from a cloud perspective, and you're also, there's always going to be percentage of applications and data that's going to stay internal to organizations. So you've got that segmentation between the internal and external, and then you've got the segmentation between the different cloud providers. So federation, provisioning become big issues, and without standards, it's not really going to work, it's not going to move forward.
What is the business model shift beyond the technology shift?
The IT industry itself, and particularly the software industry, has shifted from being product-centric to we're in the service business. And that dramatically changes the interaction with the new user. And Marketo itself is a classic example of a company that was born out of the cloud because it recognizes that how users buy today is completely different than even 5 years ago. And that shift will become more dramatic. So the behavior patterns of people are changing, and therefore the technologies to manage and process that is changing. And the cloud, and particularly in the software as a service aspect of it, is just starting in terms of the revolutionary number of new services, not products, that will emerge.
Where do you see the balance going in the future between B2B and B2C?
There's a term that's being kicked around a lot, and it's called the consumerization of IT. Today, development teams can literally, with the internet, can get a data center available the size of a large corporation, and they can use it for a half an hour, they can use it for a week, or they can use it for 10 minutes, or maybe they don't use it at all. And so you've eliminated the economic barrier to innovation, and it's creating a proliferation of new applications, and some of those are going to provide huge productivity improvements, huge improvements in brand equity, customer loyalty, and those things. And we just couldn't do that 5 or 10 years ago. So it's an explosion.
Several of the speakers talked about ROI, but ROI in its own right isn't enough. You need time to value, particularly if you're in the software space, you're building something new, you're providing a service, and people will fail much faster in the future than they did in the past, particularly in the technological space. There are going to be failures, and you have to learn from the failures. So there's a business driver and there's an innovation. Now obviously the two have to catch up, and you have to keep a balance on corporate assets, etc., etc. But that innovation is happening. You know, whether it's the consumerization or the democratization or whatever phrase you want to put in it, it's happening. The train has left the station.